What if everything you believe about yourself is just an illusion, a carefully crafted picture keeping you in place? Discover how unseen forces shape our perceptions and what it takes to break free from the hypnotic power of imagination. Welcome to Transcendent. I'm Mark Roach, and this channel is dedicated to inspiring everyday individuals to embrace qualities often regarded as exceptional by society, when in truth they are natural and unique facets of who we truly are. This is from Maurice Nicole's Psychological Commentaries, and where we're going to explore the teachings of G.I. Gurdjieff and P.D. Ouspensky. This is an excerpt from a group meeting in Birdlip on June 24th, 1944, titled Pictures and Imagination, and this is part 2 of 4. So we have a double function and a double view of everything that is possible. Man is kept asleep, but can awaken. In order to keep mankind asleep so that it serves nature, something must be done. A parable exists in the work in which it is said that man was deliberately hypnotized, that is, acted upon through his imagination to keep him in bondage. Otherwise, he would have escaped a long time ago from bondage before other factors were fulfilled. That is, before a general evolution of the lower parts of the ray had taken place. I often think this explains very much in our inner feelings. We are between two fires, as it were. The explanation of everything is double. I will remind you again of this work parable, as it were, related by Mr. Ouspensky on the basis of what Gurdjieff said. It describes our situation on earth. We are sheep in what follows. There is an Eastern tale which speaks of a very rich magician who had a great many sheep. But at the same time, this magician was very mean. He did not want to hire shepherds, nor did he want to erect a fence around the pasture where his sheep were grazing. The sheep consequently often wandered into the forest, fell into ravines and so on, and they all ran away. For they knew that the magician wanted their flesh and skins, and they did not like that. At least the magician found a remedy, or at last the magician found a remedy. He hypnotized the sheep, and he suggested to them that they were all immortal, and that no harm was to be done to them when they were skinned, and that on the contrary, it would be very good for them and even pleasant. Secondly, he suggested that the magician was a good master who loved his flock so much that he was ready to do anything in the world for them. In the third place, he suggested to them that if anything at all were going to happen to them, it was not going to happen just then. At any rate, not just that day, and therefore they had no need to think about it. Further, the magician suggested to his sheep that they were not asleep at all. To some, he suggested that they were lions, to others that they were eagles, and to others that they were men, to others that they were magicians. And after all this, all cares and worries about the sheep came to an end. They never ran away again, but quietly waited the time when the magician would require their flesh and skins. Well, starting from this big scale, we can begin to study this hypnotism as ourselves as particular examples. You will agree that starting from this big scale, we cannot expect to be able to see quite exactly or how easily imagination works upon us. Something very powerful, in other words, is behind our small personal forms of imagination and our pictures of ourselves. Something very powerful indeed, not to be treated lightly. A terrific fight is necessary before this power of imagination can be loosened, and a great deal of thought and trial and experiment and failures and quietness and patience. Now let us try to get some superficial idea of what pictures of oneself mean. You see, a person walking along, looking rather important, smiling a little, nodding, suddenly bending down to smell a flower, gazing around to see if anyone is watching, and so on. The person is in the power of a picture. Or again, you see a person striding along, looking serious, frowning, ignoring others, somber as if supporting the universe. This person is in the power of a picture. Or you see a person doing, as it were, his best not to be a gentleman, a hail fellow, a well-met person who laughs at everyone who has some gentlemanly picture. This person is equally in the power of a picture. Pictures of every kind exist. You can have a picture of yourself as a good Democrat or a Tory or a gentleman or a revolutionary Republican or a tough guy or an aristocrat, and so on. They're all pictures and they're all imagination. Behind all these pictures, the real person stands. But the real person never stands in his or her pictures. A question was once asked, are pictures of oneself not something real or true? The answer was no, never. If you have a picture of yourself as a tough guy, you're not one, and vice versa. If you often thought about this, and I advise you to do so, what is genuine, what is imaginary can never meet. There are two different orders of experience on different planes, and how long we take even to begin to see what depth of meaning lies here. The imaginary man and the real man are as different as the imaginary woman and the real woman. We live, however, chiefly in imagination, and via imagination, and a very exhausting nuisance it is for everyone concerned. However, it all happens in the only way that it can, because we do not see these pictures that govern us and interfere with everything. Only being conscious can alter mechanicalness. The destruction of pictures is not possible unless something else has begun to form itself behind them that we can hold on to. And this comes from long and conscious self-observation, which on one side is debunking oneself or seeing through oneself into something rather odd and strangely lying behind. I fancy pictures may change a little according to one's age, but their power remains. Now, people often say, and sometimes emphatically, well, granted, I have pictures of myself. What ought I to be? This is certainly a question that shows the wrong approach. If you can begin to see a picture, if you become conscious of it, if you begin to dislike it, if you try to get away from it to separate from its hypnotic power, if you begin to see you're not at all like that picture, but invented, then the change that results will be exactly what you need. Now, this text or this passage that I've just quoted explores the concept of hypnotism and self-imposed illusions, drawing on a parable shared by Mr. Ouspensky and Gurdjieff to illustrate humanity's state of unconsciousness. In the tale, a magician hypnotizes his sheep to believe false ideas about themselves, thus keeping them docile and under control. The parable serves as a metaphor for how individuals are governed by false pictures of themselves, illusions of identity created by imagination. These pictures, whether of superiority, humility, or toughness, are not true representations of the real person, but of constructs that keep individuals trapped. Breaking free from these illusions requires conscious self-observation, patience, and effort to see through and separate from the false images. The journey to uncovering the real self behind the layers of imagination is a challenging but transformative process. By observing and questioning the pictures that define us, we start to dissolve the illusions and connect with something authentic within. True change comes not from trying to create a new image, but from consciously letting go of the imaginary ones. I'm Mark Roach, and this is Transcendent, wishing you all the best.